Welcome to the Phantom Zone.
Hey, you guys ready for the big conference?
Excuse me?
Yes.
What, no one told you about the big conference?
Yeah. We've been waiting for
That thing.
The
Oh.
big conference. The big
one-
conference quotes.
we all got
The big
memo, right?
Big conference.
Yeah, that's right.
Phantom Zone panel at the big conference.
Big conference. It's gonna be a big conference.
We will be there.
Yeah, we will be there.
When you said that, or when you first showed that thing, and then I don't know if it was Lou or someone else in the chat had brought up the fact that, oh yeah, it's definitely Christian. All I could think about was
Okay, too early.
the things I'd seen like videos of where it's like a bunch of Christian strongmen, like the power of God lets me do this, and like a big phone
So
book in
Eric,
half.
Okay.
so
Good.
Eric, you're saying that your conviction was disproven when you watched that video, and you're not a man of
All right,
Christ.
10 seconds.
No, I'm not. I'm
Oh,
not.
shit.
I'm a
Oh,
weird
never
man of
mind.
Satan.
I just looked it up.
I
I've been-
actually went to Frisky Dingo when okay.
Oh my god, that is an awesome show. I haven't heard it in so
On
long.
my way to the store, I found this like identification card for someone who like I guess went to some kind of convention, but it was called the Big Conference, and big was in quotation marks, and my brain went right to what is it? You are doomed, and doom was in quotes from Frisky Dingo. The
Yes.
cards, and Killface is like, what? Why is doom in quotes? My doom is the doom ironic.
Maybe they're saying you need to play more of Doom, the game. It's actually a stealth like.
Play Dune 2016.
What would be more hilarious is if it's somehow some creepy like BBW conference.
A big conference. It is Vegas.
Yes.
It would surprise me.
Oh, I'm sure that there's one or not like three. They might have to rent out an extra buffet. But...
Oh, you know how I've been trolling the sex bots on Instagram? I just
Yes.
noticed
Yeah.
that in October, someone sent me one on Google Hangouts I never opened.
oh,
The first sentence is, "Hi Connor, my boyfriend left me. I'm alone." And that's all I can say.
can you add her to the group?
No, please don't.
Don't do it.
Is she one of those ads for like tech stories? Find out what happens. Like, do you have to pay her 99 cents more to
That is-
find out the rest of her
That's
story?
what I can see for the message. I'm not opening it because I like the one I responded to the other day just hasn't stopped. She's changed her name 4 times. She just keeps sending me messages with different first names.
Well, at least you only get them on.
I'm Alice. 2 days later, hi, I'm Tina. 2 days later, hi, I'm Ashley. Like,
Start sending her links to the YouTube version of the podcasts.
Yeah.
Just start doing that.
I think I'm going to keep it going as long as I can. Just throw different villain quotes at her because today I hit her with Thanos, no response.
At least only get them on Instagram. I get so many because I fit into like every demographic of what people want to get.
Right. Yeah.
As like a college educated, English speaking, American born, Hispanic, Asian, Native American, Black, like everything.
Funnily enough, that's also what you could use as your porn descriptor. I fit into the
Oh,
categories
yeah.
that everybody
Oh,
wants.
oh yeah.
That is
My,
gonna be
ta-
on
my
the
tags are
400
extensive.
round.
Yeah, my tags list is like, very extensive.
Okay then.
Those who listen to the show who still don't know who we are, or for those who might be listening to the first time, doubt it. I'm Connor McGraw, and we're going to talk about some news. Some of it's actually pretty earth-shattering. Some of it that we're going to talk about very quickly is stupid, and people with money should shut their mouths.
Yep.
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 Look at you, Fox. So who else is here?
There are things though.
Not wrong.
Arlen Peter Quill was not wrong. Haro. That's who I am.
It's Hunter Davenport, aka AK-47, the God, aka Consummate Professional.
Ebony Falcon.
Ebony Falcon,
That's
aka.
Oh my god, I remember that era.
That was
I'm not allowed to have any more Facebook nicknames. They've told me no.
I'm Erik Fedorchek, and guess the fuck what? Roseanne Barr isn't getting hired back, you troglodytes.
Her show wasn't that good.
Here's why. James Gunn said sorry, and Roseanne got on Twitter and was like, Ambien! It was Ambien!
Didn't she just say something else recently?
We'll get to that.
She did? I missed this.
Oh, and I'm Lou Gonzalez, and Grant Morrison is my higher power. I learned everything I could from Savage Sword of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, our Scottish dad.
Nice. So yeah, the first minor thing, well, not minor, but quick thing we're gonna get into is the Fox whatnot with them. It's it was
Again,
a bunch of Fox
exists.
marketing and distribution executives.
So people that got fired.
No, it's not that they got fired. That they're blaming the Marvel merger on Phoenix, whatever, Dark Phoenix doing poorly, or at least it's.
Here's the thing: what result are they blaming this on? Because like the movie's not out yet.
It's
Well,
probably
the thing
not
is,
tracking
this
well.
movie was supposed to be out 2 years ago.
Yeah, well, they're saying
It has nothing to do with Marvel. That has to do with Fox.
Yeah.
Which I think my favorite thing is everyone's talking about this. It's like there's also another movie that they already made that no one wants to talk about.
Yeah. They're saying the eventual release in June is going to be harmed by this merger.
It's not okay.
Whatever.
No.
It wouldn't be harmed if they just went straight to DVD because that's what this movie deserves.
Yep.
It wouldn't be harmed if you released It and New Mutants when you said you were going to, and quite frankly,
Right.
if you put a bunch of comic book fans and moviegoers into a room, they'd probably go, "No, I want the New Mutants thing. Where'd it go?"
Those movies were supposed to come out before I was over 30, so
This is a company who repeatedly works with Bryan Singer despite him being Bryan Singer.
now that works with he's kind of the architect of their universe.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, too. This is also a company who looked at. I'm not even sure if anybody looked at anything, but they decided that the sequels. Well, first of all, you jettison basically all the themes, the elements, the director, and all the stuff about First Class that worked. And you went right into Days of Futures Past, which is a movie I like. But in doing that, you're like, this whole aesthetic that people really liked and got us some good attention. Yeah, out the fucking window with it.
You also have to remember what was the other.
And then we'll go from that right back to a film everybody loathes.
Well, remember who was the person that they replaced Bryan Singer with?
Matthew Vaughn, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
he did First Class.
Yeah.
No. X-Men 3. I'm talking about. Who part of his big thing was that he outed Ellen Page on set.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's the thing though. Like,
Real winners.
X-Men 3 is so far in the past at this point.
Yes,
And-
But it's not.
There's so many similarities to Phoenix, Dark Phoenix. They're the same
Good
movie.
point.
Like in the pop culture sense, as far as time, it's been a day.
I guess.
Yeah.
The movies with like Phoenix being the bad guy.
Still very fresh. It's
True.
fresh at the point where like this whole trailer that came out with Jean walking around this like what looks like the exact same fucking suburb that she annihilates Professor X in. I was like, I feel like the simulation's running wild today. I've seen this before. I've seen this exact film before.
No,
You just characters.
There's a bug in the simulation because it's like, oh, we saw this like 10 years ago.
It's a glitch in the fucking Matrix.
I don't know.
Former Keanu was freaking out.
I feel like the people that are saying all this and leaked this information out, or whatever the case is, they're going to get their asses fired when this movie comes out.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's
is there
about
anyone
it.
that's not fired anyway?
I think no. I don't think
yeah.
they're gonna. I don't think they're gonna cull all of Fox. I think they're
No,
gonna do
but I mean,
a
like,
heavy
specific-
cleaning.
But specifically that people involved in the X-Men stuff.
Oh,
Is there anybody that's sticking around?
Yeah, I don't know.
So,
Besides
lot of those
the
guys-
Deadpool people, but like I feel like that's a
Yeah.
separate entity.
It
But
is.
besides
so
that-
a lot of those people are still getting severance pay
Mhm.
after the fact.
Yeah, but that
It's
means
the-
that we want to pay
it's
you to
the-
not work for us.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's the people below that are kind of just going to be out on their asses,
Yeah.
aside from what's legally required for them to be paid for unemployment and things like that.
And
yeah.
and to add to this, like I'm not in any way celebrating the loss of jobs.
Yeah.
Because I think we've all been on record saying like this merger is not exactly a great thing, and there's
It's
some
not.
there's some ugliness attached to it.
It has created some pretty hilarious circumstances, though.
Well, the thing is,
but also for anyone in Fox sit there and say like, well, the merger's hurting this movie that already had enough negativity attached to it to begin with. You're talking out of your asses.
Yeah.
well, the thing was, Fox was getting sold, so it was either to Disney or to Comcast. So yes, the big mouse bought everything, but like honestly, Comcast is a way worse company.
That's the whole
Everything about them.
Or what we get what Wolverine themed fucking Galaxy phone covers.
Well, no, we'd get Wolverine themed Comcast boxes.
Yeah,
they'll be the same Comcast boxes.
I need to know if it comes with extendable clause.
They wouldn't.
Regardless
of who the rights went to or who Fox went to, the Marvel rights were non-transferable, so it'd still end up at Marvel.
Well, that's not necessarily known. That's the thing.
There's
nobody knows what the contracts were.
Yeah, there's a lot of vagary and stuff that we haven't seen.
But back to real quick the Wolverine branded Comcast cable boxes. I just love the idea of they print the stickers out, but they do it incorrectly, so it's not properly proportioned. So it's just his face stretched
like Comcast.
Exactly.
See, I don't think they'd have enough for the face. I think they would just do claws.
It would say like your move Bub, but it'd be like your move Bob.
No,
exactly.
I feel like all the systems there like thing would be like X whatever instead of X23. Like, oh, this is our X25 box.
Or and it's like the PlayStation 3.
If it wasn't Marvel branded shit, like you'd have a fucking Xenomorph branded cable box that has like a remote control pop out of the face of it or something.
honestly though, that sounds great.
I would buy one of those up in a fucking heartbeat.
Oh, just a reminder, I feel like it's Family Guy that they did a thing and it pops out and just goes ah.
Dragon Ball Z Bridge did that with Frieza's.
Oh, that's definitely what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, his third form, because his third form is very Xenomorph thing, and Piccolo goes, Frieza says, "What do you think of my third form?" And Piccolo goes, "I think Ridley Scott's going to sue somebody." And Frieza goes, "What are you talking about?" And the small mouth comes out and goes,
That is actually what I'm thinking about.
That is one of the funniest visual gags that show has ever produced.
So back to X-Men real quick before we move on to the actual news stories. And this isn't even related to this story, but something I was thinking about recently is who was in charge of keeping track of time periods for those movies? Because am I incorrect? Hold on.
Erik.
Am I incorrect in thinking that First Class was supposed to be taking place in the 60s?
It's 100%. When does the Bay of Pigs happen? It's like 66?
Yeah.
64, 65.
We're in the 90s apparently, and Mystique is like, should be her 60s?
But she also lost all her scales and is like this weird CGI monster.
Well, all of them are just now 10 years older. They are all just now like approaching 10 years older.
I was thinking about that at work, and I couldn't talk to anyone about it because I couldn't be that guy at work. So I just
the person who is in charge of like the time period and stuff. It's probably the same guy who does the Namor rights or something like that.
Yeah, well,
don't you dare bring up that name.
It's just a skeleton in a closet.
Universal is like praying to the dead gods that Marvel comes a calling.
The Jennifer Lawrence's makeup is what I like to call New Nightmare Freddy, where it's just like fucking
Good
slap
enough.
it on, don't do. What are you doing? Make it fast. Stop adding details. Get him out of that chair in 25 minutes.
I kind of like New Nightmare. Like
New
honestly,
Nightmare makeup is okay. It's functional. However, when you look at it compared to like even as Freddy vs. Jason look, you're like, some shortcuts were taken.
New Nightmare has what's his name? It's Freddy, who's an amazing actor.
Yeah. Okay, we're not gonna go down the New Nightmare route, but me and Erik have some objections to that. Anyways, okay, so I just want to swerve back to the Bryan Singer thing for just a little bit. Fox is the same studio that hired him after hearing about his abusiveness on set.
Well, it's because in Hollywood, nothing is real until there's a 9-part documentary.
Right. And he had to go missing for 10 days before anybody said, "Let's fire him." He had to sue multiple people for claiming that he was interested in kids and was selling child pornography, all this other stuff. before anybody said, let's fire him. So, like, this is who we're talking about when we're talking about Fox. Like, they're not good.
No, wait, what?
Really? It's almost like collectively the planet decides when to get outrage about something disproportionately too late after it's occurred. Michael Jackson.
Well,
it's only real until it's in a documentary on.
It's also that dude is probably a serial killer. That's true.
It's only real until you hear. It's only real until you hear a grown man talking about how Michael Jackson licked his butthole.
I would not be surprised if something came out was like Bryan Singer killed a man. Like I would not.
Yeah. No, same with Michael Jackson though, because I mean we've talked about this.
Will not be surprised to me if both of them were at a party with what's that guy that like donated all the money?
Shit, the dude who's been killing guys with meth.
Yes.
He's been
that's a different guy. That's the guy in like Seattle. I'm talking about the dude who had the island that like all the politicians went to, like Clinton and.
I'm thinking of a guy in L.A.
Oh, do you guys know him?
I vaguely remember this.
George Soros.
It's not George Soros.
No,
I mean it might be George Soros.
He's a pawn of our reptilian overlords. He's not.
Well, who's to say I'm not a reptilian overlord? I've seen Captain Marvel.
Oh no!
Oh shit! Guys, I got to get off this podcast.
I was sent from the future to the past to infiltrate this podcast.
God damn it!
What are you, the fucking ghost of Christmas Future's present from Aqua Teen Hunger Force? 3,000 years from now in the past.
I was gonna say I was trying to remember what the thing is. And then all I could think of is when he had Andrew WK. It's like I really hate that guy.
I love that fucking character because his bits always open up with like 4,000 years from now in the distant past of 1642. Like
it's like wait, aren't you? It's like I'm a robot rabbit or something.
Contradictory sentence.
Although I do love the other two aliens that they then copy for fake Namek in DBZA.
Oh shit.
It's like yeah, man. With this.
All right, let's not go too far down this rabbit hole.
This is for our future podcast where me and Connor have a bridge too far. We just talk about
that's going on the list of things that we need to do in the future.
Then you guys can get that all out then.
I feel it's like the most meta podcast ever.
Okay. Do we have any last thoughts, I guess, on Dark Phoenix? Because this is a speed
round. Looks like trash.
I'm not going to see it.
No.
Nope. Oh, I'm going to go.
I'll see it because I have a free ticket. So
I'm not paying for it. There's internet sources.
I paid to see Fantastic Four in theaters. So
how dare you?
Because I had to know. Like I needed to know right away.
No.
Oh
yeah.
I
needed to be able to form my own opinion, which is that movie is half of a good movie and half utter dog shit.
Yeah, it is.
I think we could. That's like a movie special where that's like a 5-hour movie special where it's like
no, that one's gonna be a trial. That one's gonna be.
Yeah,
we're gonna
because that's a
people versus fan force.
That's like an hour and a half of talking about the movie, and then another hour and a half of talking about outside of the movie.
Oh my god! Probably make a documentary on the style of Lost Soul or Superman.
Superman! The Death of Superman Lives.
Yeah.
Didn't that Justice League one come out recently?
I don't think there has been one about Justice League yet.
I thought there was one about Justice League. The what's his name from Mad Max?
Yeah.
I think one it's either coming out or came out.
John Schnepp is doing something. He was doing something.
Detailed and in depth the Superman one was, and with all the information we've gotten about how Justice League Mortal was going to look, who was in it, and all the concept art, like it's a matter of time.
Yeah, well, a lot of the concept art was posting like the last 2 weeks.
Before he passed, Schnepp was working on a whole series.
Yes.
Of stuff.
Oh no, he was. He was producing a new doc for that movie, Justice League Mortal.
It was an episode of like a 10-episode, 12-episode series for AMC.
Was it for AMC or HBO? Which one did the first one came out with? I thought it was HBO.
The first one's on Showtime, forever.
I hope that documentary eventually comes out, and the collective movie-going crowd just looks over and goes, Warner Brothers, and goes, "What the fuck? You couldn't do this again? Like, what the fuck?"
All you have to do is listen to. I think it was Adam Brody that was playing Flash. He was on a very like one of the first like 10 or 15 episodes of like Kevin Smith and his wife's podcast, and they talked about it for like 2 hours. And like one of the scenes he describes, I was like, that is the perfect movie. Because it basically was like all about the ending was all about the Flash and him like seeing the entire world standing still like statues.
Yeah.
And
I think that movie
the thing is though,
movie happening.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Arlen. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that movie happening depends on like, can Warner Brothers and George Miller come to an agreement about anything?
Okay, not to spin into that, but there was an article I read recently. It did say that apparently Miller and Warner Brothers are close to working that shit out.
Because why not? Like,
so they're going to pay him the $6 million they still owe him, or whatever it is.
I believe so. Yeah, I think they're going to because I guess some insider also said that like that is coming off the heels of the Mad Max series being moved forward with Miller attached. Like that's something that came out. They said this is happening, so a deal must be close.
Yeah, that's a franchise that's alive. So why not? Like you don't have much else kind of rolling for them right now. So
I think you can't justifiably hand Mad Max off to somebody else and expect
fans will revolt. They would not go.
The thing I just wanted to chime in with real quick, Arlen, before you had brought up whatever the point was. I'm sorry, I'm floating. Was that I'm kind of glad that Justice League didn't happen when George Miller wanted to make it, because if he would have been making that, chances of him making Mad Max are probably slim to none.
It would not have happened. It mostly got stopped because of the writer's strike.
Exactly.
And the writer's strike killed the whole thing. Yeah. And then they were it's done because they were doing costume testing. Because another interview I was listening, I can't remember where he was on, but Armie Hammer talked about like he had been doing crazy training for Batman.
Yeah.
They were in Australia. Like they were ready to go.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing to consider is that movie was coming out at the same time as Nolan's movie, and that's why they didn't go through with it.
Yeah.
But if they had gone through with it, despite what Nolan said, and say it tanked, Warner doubles down on what they did basically after the Dark Knight trilogy, and they just say, we're not just going to make them dark and gritty, we're going to make them like
murderous,
super realistic.
But how much longer after that was Green Lantern? That was like the same time.
I don't even think they would have done Green Lantern.
No, they would not have done Green Lantern. So I'm saying my point is more like, well, they didn't like not do another kind of character. Like they just went and did something else that was equally as like tanked as hard.
But I feel like Green Lantern was already in the production phase while the Nolan films were starting to really ramp up. So that's why that one wasn't as tainted by we should make all the movies look this dark. Like that's why Green Lantern failed on its own measures instead of because it was trying to imitate something else.
It is interesting that Mark Strong is getting another like whack at the DC villain column.
He's a good actor.
He's amazing. I actually think his Sinestro is the thing I hate the most that we lost. Because that Sinestro is perfect.
Yeah.
Him and Michael Clark Duncan.
Can't bring that guy back.
Well, how many more? I can't think of any more noises.
I think I just miss Michael Clark Duncan.
I miss him. I just don't specifically like in my head. That is not how Kilowog sounds. So, but I don't think he's like a bad. I love him as an actor, but that's not the voice. It's also like, well, why does the giant space cop have to sound like a giant black man?
I mean, why shouldn't he though?
But why can't he sound like I don't know? To me, Kilowog could have easily have sounded like R. Lee Ermey, and it would have been also epically awesome.
I mean,
that's the character though.
Give me that fucking movie.
He's the drill instructor.
I mean, that's Michael Clark Duncan also. I think that we have different perceptions of Michael Clark Duncan.
I think of him as in Green Mile. Like he's to me, he's more subtle than that.
No, to me, he's a lot like J.K. Simmons, where there are two modes.
I do think that there's a difference between him in Sin City and him in like Green Mile.
Yes, like I think of him as there's sinister Michael Clark Duncan and there's adorable teddy bear Michael Clark Duncan.
Yeah, but to me,
there's the occasional time where he gets to do a little bit of both.
To me, there's like a very fine line between those, because when he's sinister, he has this like creepy, innocent sinisterness.
He was our first Kingpin.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he was.
And
I still say he's one of the best parts of that movie. So
I agree.
I don't think he's not. Like, I think he's good in that movie.
I know. People get into fights with me over Colin Farrell when it comes to
I honestly don't think that he's bad. That character is really shitty. Until the most recent Daredevil, that character had a shitty background.
Yeah, kind of. Anyway,
yeah, let's get to the news. Yeah,
we are way off the road, and we're 25 minutes in.
Yep.
That's this show for you. Let's see. So there's a lot of fucking Marvel stories this week because fucking Marvel can't stop.
When Marvel, now Marvel.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Well, that's because they are because Disney is the greatest company on earth, and I respect Mickey Mouse. He's one of the greatest creations in all of existence.
Now you know way want him to sneak into my house and indoctrinate me.
I'm just catching in.
You won't go to the camp.
Damn it. You will go to the camp. Okay, the one we can knock out real fast because it's outdated at this point. Yeah. But when I put this on there, Captain Marvel had made $500 million worldwide. I'm sure it's like 750.
I think it's on track. It's on track to break $1 billion real soon.
That's crazy.
Yum.
Yep. Yeah, but the thing is, it's not what Brie Larson said. It's just the movie looked boring, and it's that she only has one face on it.
Here's the thing, and
I took a picture at 9:30 and then posted it at 10:20.
I'm
that's
so glad that this movie, like this and Black Panther, are having the box of results they are because it's the same crowd of jackasses who say the same thing about these movies when they come out. Yep. With this instance, I was a bit more on I had my finger on the pulse of the contrarian side of things, and I specifically mentioned this, I think, in one of our last recordings, where it was that it's this fucking YouTube channel called The Quartering, and he's one of those like, oh, here comes Disney with their SJW agenda, woo! And he posted a video up, and I saw a headline, and I was like, that's all I need to know about this idiot. It says, the reviews for Captain Marvel are in. Boring, sluggish, a chore of a film, set to bomb, cost Disney, cost Disney $100 million in losses.
Well, that's the thing, though. I feel like a lot of the naysayers were even more insidious because they weren't trying to say the very obvious what they actually are. Like,
because you can get away with saying it's a woman instead of it's an N-word.
But they weren't even saying no. It's not even that. They were saying like, oh, it doesn't have anything to do with her being female. Just the special effects look bad. Well, the trailer looks boring.
I got smarter about it. You can also look at the Rotten Tomatoes where they basically had to say that we have to come out and change our system because it got tanked before it even came out.
I've read the word generic so many times.
The thing is, it is funny, and I don't know why I just draw this comparison right now. It's like movies are only catching up to some of the sports stuff because the problem, I can't remember when baseball did this, where they had fan voting on their All-Star game a decade ago, and the first year they had it, 15 Cleveland Indians made it, and people were like, what the shit? And oh, someone just made a bot. And movie industry is just kind of catching up to that idea now. That there's just a bunch of nerds screwing everybody else over.
You mean that leaving the reception of a certain thing in the hands of the general public is a bad idea because people are idiots?
Oh yeah.
And assholes, and that generally speaking, people are fucking awful.
Yeah, and there's super nerds that are trying to create things to screw with everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like the Internet Movie Database has shown us that for 20 years now. Because if you listen to them, The Dark Knight is the greatest movie of all time.
Actually, for the longest time, I think on IMDb, the top-rated film was a Dragon Ball Z film.
I bet it was.
Before they started to apparently get good.
Was it the one where the guy from Hell released Hell and the Nazis came back?
I don't know.
I don't remember that movie. What the fuck movie is that?
Yeah, what Dragon Ball Z movie?
You haven't seen that one?
No, that's a real one.
There's a movie where
Goten and Trunks fight Hitler.
Yes, all the villains come back.
Hell yeah!
And Hitler's who is this Trunks?
It's the
hold on. No, okay. You want to know why I haven't seen it? Because I saw Bio Broly and I was like, I'm never watching a movie with Goten and Trunks at the center of this ever again.
I think it's the Janemba one that was part of I think it's the original cut of the Janemba that all got edited.
Wow, because the Janemba movie I know is they go to fucking his pocket dimension and fight him in one of the most exquisitely animated fight sequences that show was ever produced until the new Broly movie.
They're supposed to be in the underworld, and he released all of the underworld.
So Does that mean that Hitler and Goebbels or Hitler and Himmler do the fusion dance?
I'll find a picture, but there's like Dragon Ball Z animated.
What would they be? Himmler? Or Gulptler.
Gitler.
Okay, I just wanted. So the movie is called Dragon Ball Z Fusion Reborn.
Yeah, it's the one where the one with what do you call it? Not Gogeta. It's Gogeta. That's the one.
Yeah, that's Janemba.
Yeah, it's Janemba. Yeah, I'm gonna drop the link into the chat right now.
All right. Do we want to move on to the next story, which is the greatest thing to happen in a while, I think. And I understand there's a ton of behind the scenes shit that we probably don't know about, but man, Mike Cernovich can suck such a huge dick.
Oh, you bet we're gonna speculate though on what.
Yeah, of course.
I have some theories about how this occurred.
Apparently, this happened a long time before we were aware of it,
and a couple months beforehand.
And I did read actually Screen Rant in a rare case of journalistic integrity. And accuracy. Posted an article today. Hang on, let me get to it. It's not a fucking Endgame theory, and it's not them spoiling comic books.
James Gunn is gonna lose the reality stone.
James Gunn is going to use the Infinity Gauntlet to make himself the head of Disney.
He's going to have a robotic arm.
Yeah.
No, that's Kevin Feige.
James Gunn is going to lose his left arm. No, they posted an article basically saying that the they didn't say speculation. They said like this is the reasons why, and it had a lot to do with how James Gunn handled himself publicly afterwards.
Yeah, well, for those who don't know about this, which I don't know how you don't if you're listening to the show, but yeah, James Gunn is going to be back to direct Guardians of the Galaxy 3. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a given. Like, I think
and in addition to that, Disney didn't even attempt to look for a new director in the downtime.
No. Well, and the only thing is they downplayed all that. Like he's going to be the Fahey or the Kevin of like the space stuff, and like he downplayed that was like 6 months ago.
Yeah, something like that. It wasn't that long ago. But that's the thing. I mean, you have to look at how James Gunn handled it. Like he put out that public apology. He didn't say anything really after the firing. Like,
oh no, he went Twitter.
He went silent. Like, same thing with his Instagram. Like, just he was off the radar, and I don't blame him. But I think that has a lot to do with why Disney and Marvel were. Well, I think Marvel side of things were just like, no, we were always back. Yeah. But I think that has a lot to do with why Disney wanted him back, because he wasn't being a typical Hollywood asshole. He was actually showing.
I think it was
repentance.
And I heard this had less to do with Feige and Iger and more to do with Alan Fine.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything about Iger with this. Like all I heard about was Fine.
Because Iger's the head of like Disney, like the parks, like everything. Fine is specifically the studio, and everything that we know says that they basically made a deal at some point. And Fine started talking to Gunn again not too long ago.
But movements were made, I guess, like longer, farther back than we imagine. And I have to think it was a little before the Suicide Squad 2 thing probably came to fruition.
No,
I think once that did happen, I think they were like, okay, we should probably make a move on this.
I think it was like you said, like I think it started a little before, but like once that with the ink was on the line, then they're like, oh shit. And then when some names started circling around that movie, I think that's when stuff kind of got heated.
Well,
I think it's just what they're saying. I think that they made a deal like the day of, like the day that we heard about when they went to Iger,
that first meeting
was like, like I think that they made the deal then. Like
it never made
Feige, you have to. Yeah, like Feige, you have to basically toe the company line and say, "I'm all right with this decision to fire him." And in exchange, in a couple months, we will probably hire.
So I'm gonna bring up an example of this that I never thought would ever connect back to this, and it's from an unlikely source for comparison, but a likely source for me. In 2011, the WWE fired Daniel Bryan.
Right.
Who his name is going to be familiar to a lot of people now because he's kind of transcended wrestling. He's becoming a kind of a global star.
Yes. I've known who he is for like 4 years.
Yes. Okay. So Daniel Bryan was fired because he was part of a big angle on TV, and he was doing what he did. He was doing what you're supposed to do on TV, which is improvise. And the whole thing was they were supposed to siege the ring and beat up everybody. The ring crew, the camera crew, the announcers, John Cena, everybody.
It was the NXT thing, right?
Yes, it was one of the hottest angles that this company's ever fucked up that I've ever seen. So Bryan grabbed a ring announcer and started choking with his tie. Mattel, the toy company, was like, "You can't have that on TV, and you can't have one of your guys, who's one of our toys, do that." And they were like, "Well, we can drop them on their heads, and that's fine." I guess Mattel didn't budge, and they pulled Daniel Bryan off TV, fired him publicly, released him. The whole world got pissed. Because it's rightfully unjustified. He was gone, and I actually met him on an independent circuit for a while. I have a signed tie in my closet with his name on it.
Nice.
I have 3 signed pictures with his name on it. He remembered me all 3 times. That's just for me. That's for nobody else. But by SummerSlam, which is only about 4 or 5 months later, he was back with the company. And basically the gist is, the WWE was like, we're not going to say no to a bunch of money that you can make us. So what we're going to do is appease this toy company who should have really no say in what goes on in our product. And they should just kind of toe the line that we're giving them. Is like, you make money off of our superstars and, we'll do business with each other. But Daniel Bryan's also a walking dollar sign. So they eventually brought him back because they knew this thing would blow over. I think this is kind of not the same, but mirrors it a little bit.
Yes,
I think it's very similar.
The big difference is
if you go back,
I was going to say the big difference is like what we said, like that weird interview that Kevin Feige did. Feige. I don't know why he think Feige. It's because stupid lawnmower man.
He's not.
Yeah,
that's why I keep.
He took you over, Lou.
He's not a trucker rapist.
I don't know. He's
like I am God.
He used Cyberman and got in my brain, but
yes.
But Kevin Feige.
Yeah, he on those weird computer glider things.
Yes.
Those,
he got in the Kevin Feige got in the gyroscope and he was like, "I will toe the company line in virtual reality."
He's the original Thanos.
You can't find me, Bob Iger. I'm too powerful for you now.
But what was your thought, Lou?
No, that like it still makes that interview so weird when he's like, no, he wasn't going to be the thing. Like, why are you downplaying this? Like,
yeah,
exactly.
I know,
Oh,
because it's not like there wasn't on public record him saying that, like, oh yeah, he's going to basically be the masthead for the cosmic universe,
which is an amazing idea because like the cosmic universe is a separate entity in the Marvel comics, and it really doesn't connect it at all.
And
it's also it is a way to branch your studio out from just saying we do superhero movies and we do space operas.
Yeah, which the both Guardians of the Galaxy movies are space operas.
Yeah,
in many ways.
And Gunn showed that he inherently understands how to make it work for a mass audience. That's the thing that I think Disney was like, we're missing out on billions of dollars here, billions more dollars than they're already making. So
you mean all of the raccoons and sticks that he sold, that talking sticks?
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, not just that, like albums of music that have been out for 30 years.
Yeah.
The current movie tries to take a bite out of his style with the album.
Yeah.
Like it's so obvious.
I was in Disneyland the week after Guardians came out. They had Guardians of the Galaxy soundtracks everywhere for you to buy. You couldn't get any merch yet, but you could buy that soundtrack from a person on a corner.
The soundtrack is like almost as big as the movie.
Exactly.
Those movies are licenses to print money because you can sell toys, albums, fucking little toy fucking Peter Quill lasers, Peter Quill helmets, Drax knives, Drax shirts.
Oh, you haven't even mentioned Rocket Raccoon is one of the biggest characters in existence.
Rocket Raccoon is a literal toy that you can put into any form. You can make him an action figure, you make him a plushie, you can make him a giant fucking stuffed animal. Like,
well, and
the same way.
Raccoon passed away like last month.
Yeah. At my work, like people listen to radio predominantly because nobody really wants to listen to my music. And it's a lot of time it's classic rock. And it's kind of ridiculous how much Guardians of the Galaxy, those two movies, like changed the landscape of classic
Dude,
rock stations.
I admittedly am not that big of a Fleetwood Mac fan, not because I think the music is bad or I don't like it. It's because I'd never exposed a ton of it.
Did someone blow cocaine in your asshole when you were a child?
No. The moment
they put it in your cup.
The moment I heard, in my fucking Cookie Monster cup. The moment I heard "Chain" from that movie, both in the trailer and the movie itself, I was like, I need this song like on my device tomorrow.
Best use of music in that second film.
Yes.
Definitely.
Oh my god, yes.
Well, the Cat Stevens song at the end of the movie too.
Oh, dude,
yeah.
Cat Stevens / what is his name now? It's like
Yusef something. Yeah.
James Gunn and Edgar Wright are two guys I've seen use music in ways that have like you bury the song in my consciousness forever because now if I hear that one.
Tarantino in that book too.
Yeah, now like with Edgar Wright, now when I hear that one Queen song from Shaun of the Dead, I just picture people hitting something with a pool cue. That's all I can picture in my head. It's burned in my memory forever.
To me, that's like one of my songs in Pulp Fiction and like Reservoir Dogs, like that.
Go ahead, Hunter. What was that?
Last night I was in a bar and Rubber Band Man started playing.
Oh, awesome! Love that song.
Yeah. And I could not stop thinking about Peter Quill.
Yeah.
That's another one. Like people went in Destiny and recreated the entire opening of Guardians of the Galaxy with "Come and Get Your Love."
It's so good.
Like,
great.
After I watched Captain Marvel, it happened to be on FX or something, and I watched it again, and I was like, "Oh, this connects so well," and it actually made me see things I didn't see because I think I was talking about on the comic show that like, oh, I did not realize that Ronan is like bathing in Zandarian blood in the beginning.
I did not know that.
I did not make that connection until I resaw it like the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he brains Zandarian with his hammer, and it goes into the same pool that he just came out of.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, he fucking.
It's like really dark.
Fucking murders that dude hard. Yeah.
Really dark intro. Like I was like, oh, and then now with like
he straps that dude into a fucking anvil.
Yeah.
And he fucking.
And now with like it's like, oh, it makes sense that what's his name? Hansu's character.
Korath.
It makes so much more sense that he's there and like kind of builds into that character. Like I get that there's a lot of wonky connections, but like seeing that character, like you're like, oh, it kind of makes sense that he would, because the way they played him in Captain Marvel, it's like, oh, it makes sense that like he would pop over there, like years in the future.
On a purely cynical note, it's also a masterful stroke on Disney's PR part to put this news out on a Friday because any backlash it would potentially get would be muted by all the other horrific things that are happening around it at this point. So it's I know that's horribly cynical, but it's kind of the truth because if you look, a lot of times stories like this will be buried on a Friday when typically there's a ton of bad news going on, and also honestly, people don't mull over it all week.
Honestly, though, like on the other on a tonal shift from that, like that news, waking up to like hearing 49 people were shot in a mosque. It's like fuck again. James Gunn was rehired. Oh, okay, something decent happened today.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, the bigger thing is just, I love the fact that this is making so many people just like, but he made the joke about the touching the children.
He made it a pedophile joke. He can't be back to make movie.
Yeah.
And other pieces of like, there's a fucking picture going around of him and Chantal Claret. Those who know who that is, great on you. You know some weird like indie rock bands, but there's a picture of him and her like at a Halloween party, like dressed as like the Breakfast Club or something like that. Is it Japanese or Chinese woman? Or am I thinking of? No. Okay, because he was dating a woman who played violin, and she was of Asian background, and I'm not sure if she was Japanese or Chinese. Might have been in that picture. Okay, no, she might have been. Chantal Claret, she's in the band Morning Wood.
Okay, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
But
what's her name?
They did something where they were dressed Chantal Claret. I think that's correct. But they were in like some sort of photo shoot for a Halloween party, and there are people like trying to claim that that's part of his pedophilia, that's his thing that he's into, like dressing up as a kid or whatever, and having other people dress up as a kid with him. It's like no.
Oh, I know what you're
going to a Halloween party.
Is that when he's dressed as a priest?
No, that was
okay.
That's back from when he was still like.
You mean like when
Trauma?
When South Park did that episode where the priests go to the Satan's Halloween party with like little kids?
Yeah. Also, it's a Halloween party. People dress up as things.
Yeah, and you want to dress up as the most gross, offensive thing you could think of. And oh my God, he was drawing attention to the Catholic Church abusing children.
Yeah, and that's actually something that I brought up when I was responding to that guy who has yet to even open his mouth on Joe's post. Because all he had to say in retort was like, "May God have mercy on your soul."
It's like when Bill Burr was on Fox News, and they were like, "Weren't you a little bit harsh on the Catholic Church?" Well, were they a little bit harsh on those kids?
Yeah. And I like a lot of what Gunn was saying in those tweets that everyone finds offense in. It has topical, contextual details that people sucked out of, and just like, of course, if I take something a Hunter said last week and throw it up on a fucking chalkboard without context, people go, "That's pretty strange and awfully suspect." Like,
I mean, if we take something him or I said from 2015, and we put it up,
you can take the thing where like Hunter jokes about like, "I'm gonna beat your boyfriend up." I could paint Hunter as this like fucking home wrecking douchebag. Is like, this tall guy wants to beat your boyfriend up. Look at him all the time. He's beating people's boyfriends up left and right.
I will
every Tuesday.
Scary giant white man from the Northeast.
Yeah.
I mean, you could pick you could pick a certain person and be like, your boyfriend's black. He's a racist. He's a whatever, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I will beat up your boyfriend, but, you know, it's not because of a race thing. It's just because I'm better than him.
Right. What time is this? Because I have to mark that so I can cut it up for
Also,
we're gonna put that
when Hunter says going to beat him up, he's not really going to do much. He's going to stand there and just watch the dude try to get tired trying to reach his face. Because Hunter is tall like tree.
Well, I was gonna say, watch the guy dodge Hunter's very slow-moving arms because he has to force the blood into them.
But Hunter swings like the alien from the Star Trek fight.
Exactly. Yeah, like the Gorn.
But this is fantastic news, and so now he gets to do both movies, from what I understand. He gets to do Suicide Squad and Guardians 3.
Yes.
I forget. I mean, he's doing Polka Dot Man, which is like a miracle unto God. My God, I mean Grant Morrison.
I heard King Shark, Condiment King, and Polka Dot Man.
I did not see Condiment King.
I didn't see Condiment King either. Yeah.
It was King Shark, Polka Dot Man, and then two characters I've never heard of, and Idris Elba is Deadshot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a question that I want everybody to answer seriously. Are people going to get the whole somebody dies at the beginning thing, or are they going to be assholes about it, like they were with Rope?
We live in 2019, so
you just call him Rope Man.
Whatever, because I still get pissed off when people are like, "But they killed off that character and they didn't give him any setup." That's a thing from the fucking comics. I don't care if you don't read it. You should fucking know that.
Those people have not seen either of the Suicide Squad animated films. Where, I think
they do an Arrow too. Wasn't there?
Where King Shark, Killer Frost, and someone else all get blown up.
Well, what's sad is that
I feel like that's something
better animated movie too for Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like that should be on the wiki, right? Like when you look up Suicide Squad, one of the first thing that should come up is, and a member of the team usually dies at the beginning of every story arc or at the beginning of every
that's
issue.
right. In the beginning of Suicide Squad Assault on Arkham, KG Beast gets blown up first.
Yeah,
because he's a moron.
Exactly.
He tries to punch the door. Amanda Waller's like, "Hey, don't leave this room." He's like, "I leave room," and then she blows up his head.
I leave now.
And in Arrow, it's the bomber guy, isn't it? I can't remember his name.
Yeah, it is. It's the dude who tried to blow up the city.
It's like Tex Bomber guy.
Clocks.
He was
basically knockoff Clockman.
Or if you go by the abridged version, Waller tells KG Beast there's a giant plate of pancakes in the next room, and he says, I eat all pancakes. I eat enough for whole family. Hell, I eat whole family. And then she blows his head up.
God damn. Yeah.
That is the abridged version. Less offensive than the animated.
Yeah.
James Gunn being...
and this is a weird thing because I think people are like, he gets to direct for the competition and the blah blah blah. Like, listen, do you have any idea how good this is for the comic book movie industry? Because that means that he's going to do his best for Suicide Squad 2. He's not going to fucking torpedo it like some of you tinfoil wearing hat motherfuckers think.
I don't know. I think Hunter was.
Yeah. Also,
Marvel got their guy on the inside, and he's going to go in there.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
He came back and said, I didn't have to do anything. Those fucking idiots in suits did all the work for me.
What I say is, Henry Cavill, Captain Britain.
Yeah.
But like this also competition breeds results. I'll go back to wrestling. Wrestling was its hottest when there was two companies both doing stupidly well, dominating.
That's what Monday Night Wars.
Well, I feel like we can just go to comics. Like,
too.
What wasn't there someone who's more knowledgeable than me? Please, like, give me an example. Wasn't there a period of time where somebody big was working for both companies, for DC and Marvel? Wasn't Marvel working for them at the same time?
A lot of the writers,
it
didn't matter.
That's the thing. A lot of times, the top tier or the hottest property writers end up getting grouped into contracts.
Like Morrison wrote for both because he wrote X-Men and he wrote stuff.
Right. But that was during like an exclusive.
Yeah.
What's that, Hunter?
Morrison jumped between companies all the time, didn't he?
But he had stints where he had to stay with them. It's not like he was writing new X-Men and then writing something for DC at the same time.
Yeah.
I think my point is, though, when writers have been able to work for both, has that ever been a bad thing?
No.
Has either company ever been
the thing is,
a problem?
It's weirdly, one company has a weird relationship with writers compared to the other.
I don't know, though. It depends. Like,
it's kind of, one of them has a method named after them and the other does not.
They do, but I feel like Marvel has kind of eased up on that to an extent. Like,
to a degree.
That was something that I feel like more in the 80s than it was like in the 90s.
I feel like they're still known as the more art-driven of the two.
Probably.
Yeah.
But even post, is it Romita who brought it back?
Yeah, John Romita, but now he's back to now he's for the first time.
I'm trying to who's the guy who basically forced them to go with more premium books instead of like, we have to do a Flash cover every few weeks.
I'm not sure. No.
Fuck. He's a junior. I know that.
John Romita Jr.
John Romita Jr.
Is it Romita Jr.?
That's only
went to DC.
Yeah, that's the only junior I can think of. Yeah, he's going to be doing a Black Label book with Frank Miller, actually.
Maybe we'll get some more Batman dick.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I think it's
they'll go back and censor it.
I'm thinking of a different guy because I'm not about the guy who created Marvel Knights.
Oh, that's Joe Quesada. Joe Quesada was
the CEO of Marvel
at the time.
Yes, Quesada is who I'm thinking.
But he wasn't when Marvel Knights started. That was kind of what led him into that position because he was the one who was the artist on Daredevil. He started running Marvel post the Daredevil movie because that's why the one character is called Joe Quesada in the movie. Yeah, but that version of Daredevil and whatnot was all the stuff that got him to the position he is.
Because he was the artist for Kevin Smith's Daredevil.
Yeah.
Yep. That's right.
And that's also the run where a Punisher was hired by the Angels to come back and kill.
I have no idea what my point with Quesada was.
You were the one you were saying about the Marvel method is what you were trying to.
Yes, I after him, I think that kind of deteriorated.
Yes, he's the one that got rid of all this. There's no smoking in Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, he's the one who basically said, we have to focus on story. We have to focus on telling good stories first and not being flashy, not, releasing giant super big editions with, again, shiny covers and holograms and all these,
Well, he was
gimmicks,
he was the one who was there when Garth Ennis came in and started doing Punisher.
He was the mid-2000s guy.
Yeah, he was there when Grant Morrison came in and did New X-Men. He's the reason a lot of really good Marvel stuff happened. And then
he's a big part of all the Marvel, like the Fox movies at that time.
Yeah, there's a reason that he was part of the Marvel Creative
Summit.
He's like a higher thing now. He's like CFO or something.
Yeah, well, there was also people weren't very happy with the way he was running the company.
Oh no, people were not. But there's also a lot of reasons why a lot of people jump ship.
Mm-hmm.
In the comic side.
Yeah. But that's
Anyways.
kind of off topic. Yeah.
I don't know. Do we have anything else to say really about James Gunn other than we're very excited?
Dave Bautista wins.
Dave Bautista does win, and that's important because we all love him.
That is a big thing. Like they are boys for forever.
Yes,
and always. He will enshrine this moment forever in his giant lunchbox aquarium.
I feel like James Gunn should buy him a ring, and they should be like James and Bob, like heterosexual life partners.
Yes. I would watch a movie of those two going across the country doing shenanigans. All kinds.
Do you think Dave Bautista like do you think he collects all those lunch boxes because he holds everyone's soul in there?
Yes, if anybody can steal someone's soul, it's Dave Bautista.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, he's constantly full of stuff. Like, first of all, when he became a wrestler and he was like, "I'm gonna go into acting," people were like, "You can't!" Oh fuck, he did it! Oh my god, what do we do?
It depends. Recently, his Smallville thing, which was meh, but like James Gunn did like a great job of making him because he went from like when he filmed like Guardians and The Man with the Iron Fist like simultaneously, right?
Of course he did.
And shortly after Guardians, he was in what was it? Not Quantum of Solace.
Blade Runner.
He was in Blade Runner. He was in
Blade Runner.
He was in Riddick.
He was in a James Bond movie before he did. Spectre. Yeah, he was in Spectre before.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, before Blade Runner. Yeah.
Yeah, Spectre, every James Bond fan's favorite James Bond movie.
Man, you're saying that with some conviction.
It's still
it's killing me to say
it's still a huge step for someone who ostensibly shouldn't be in the roles he's in.
No, and if you listen to him, like I will bring it up again, like he did Rosenbaum's podcast, Michael Rosenbaum, and it is one of the most interesting because he has an amazing backstory and he is the most subdued human being I've ever heard. And he is a gigantic monster person.
Yes.
He's terrifying.
That's the thing, like what he owes to James Gunn isn't a small thing. Because James Gunn turned him from being like the guy who played Jaws in the 70s Bond.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
He allowed him to not be that and to be like a real character actor.
Yes.
Like
he's legit. His performance.
Here's the thing. There's a lot of people I see on social media who criticize his character representation and performance in both movies as just this laughing moron. But
yes,
those people are glossing over the two moments in both movies. One where he tries to fight Ronin, loses, and then becomes a sobbing mess because he failed at the one fucking thing he set out to do.
The Guardian 2 moment is like
is soul crushing because he's so defeated. First of all, he doesn't even emote at the idea that his family is dead because he keeps it all bottled up inside. And then when Mantis touches him, she is letting out all the emotions he has inside, and she's overwhelmed with sadness. And
his alien species physically can't emote.
Yeah.
And the moment she touches him, she just breaks down. It's the best moment in the movie.
Which says a lot about his ability to, like, how he laughs. Because
it's a great moment for both characters because
and it's like
they are both the same and opposite, and it's a gorgeous point.
And like the laughing thing is him going like a joke. I must laugh at this. Ha 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 ha. Like.
There's some things that some people have said about Mantis's representation, which I'm not going to go into. But yeah, no, you're exactly right. Like
there are.
Well, even if you go back,
I'll tell you later.
In that first movie, even like one of the best scenes to like show is like when he's like, "Oh, you were like when it's in the beginning when they're breaking out of the prison." It's like, "Starlight, you're such a thing," blah blah blah, and then he reveals the Walkman. And he's like, "You're the dumbest thing I've ever met."
You were the dumbest person I've ever seen.
But his work, and then I know after the first one, there was like a guy who like wrote this whole thing about like, oh, he's like it's the first character my brother ever connected to because he's basically playing like
an autistic version.
A lot of people posted about that. A lot of people made social media posts like that. Like, people connected to that character.
Yeah, and he gave depth to a character that has very little in the books.
And very different in the books.
Yep.
Actually, and I was going back and watching some cosmonaut videos. Me and Arlen's one of our favorite YouTubers who is right about Spider-Man. Shut up, Alan. He went back and said, like, representation in these movies is very important because the representation you see on page isn't what people think. People think Aquaman talks to fish because that's what they've been told for 50 fucking years, thanks to the goddamn Super Friends cartoon and Family Guy and Living Color and all kinds of stuff like
Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, and Thor is not a clown. Comics. Yeah, and Thor is not a clown in the comics, but he is in the movies, and it's fine. It works. Yep. But he's a clown, but he's also one of the strongest members of the team, and it's going to get people to go look for Thor comics. And I think there's anecdotal evidence I know from people who said they've been in stores where someone walks in and says, "I want to read stuff with Groot."
Well, I would do the same thing with Mantis.
Give me a book with Groot. I would imagine it works the same way with Drax.
Well, I would say with Drax, with Mantis, with what's the guy's name in Suicide Squad? The Spanish guy.
Diablo.
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 Okay. Yeah, but Mantis is
everybody's favorite video game character put on screen.
But Mantis is one of two Asian characters in the MCU, and she's basically one of the top tier powers because she holds down Ego in Guardians 2. Yeah, and she's holding down Thanos.
Who is the other one that you're thinking of? I'm really curious who it is.
Wong.
Okay, I thought you were thinking of Helen Cho from
from what? From
Age of Ultron.
Ultron. Yes.
Oh, yeah. There's also the woman.
She's alive.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, she's not. She's dead.
No, she's alive.
Ultron.
No, dude, she's
alive.
She's alive.
Are you
she's
sure?
Alive.
Oh, she is.
Yes.
She's Amadeus Cho's mom.
To me because
but the other,
we have not mentioned
a little personal there.
Yeah, they changed the race of the in Doctor Strange of the what's his name?
One.
The ancient one.
Yeah, the ancient one. And another villain that they changed was the Mandarin.
Yeah, because both representations are dated and offensive.
I will argue they have better representations of the Mandarin in more modern comics in the Extreme story that they could have gone with. I still like it all until the very
Honestly,
end.
I think the Iron Man 3 representation of the Mandarin being a Osama bin Laden figure
it works great.
Who is supposedly perpetrating acts of terrorism is fantastic. The twist ruins that. I don't hate the twist, but the twist does undo that representation because then it's it's a funny drunk British man.
Yeah, that's the problem with it all.
Yeah,
the Mandarin in later Iron Man comics, specifically, I think the Matt Fraction run, he's more along the lines of a crazy Chinese billionaire businessman.
He's Chinese, Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But the ancient one, I think, is the one would be a little more problematic because it's a stereotype.
Yeah,
that an ancient one would have been a lose-lose scenario for Marvel.
Well, they also have to dance around it because of the whole Tibet thing with China. I get it, but my point is more Mantis is also she doesn't get much time to shine, but when she does, it is
True.
she takes down Ego, and then she is holding Thanos down. Until Peter Quill screws everything up because he's a shitty character, right, Arlen?
Because he's a white guy.
He's great. He's fantastic. He's a stunted child, and you should judge him on that level.
Exactly.
Not as in a full-grown.
He's another.
That's my problem with it.
He's a giant baby who was raised by space pirates.
Exactly.
Cut him some slack.
So you can't judge him by adult standards. Okay, he would not be sent to an adult prison. He would be sent
positive reinforcement.
The appropriate response to dealing with that would have been to scruff him by the neck and throw him aside, and then tell him to stop being such a whine. To tell him to grow up for a couple seconds. That's the only way you handle that. You don't handle it oh, you stupid! You just wiped out half the. What are you doing? You goddamn stupid! It's he wouldn't. He would cry. He would hurt his feelings.
I wouldn't have even.
Well, he's also a person that was told his entire life. The only reason he's alive is because I liked you. Otherwise, we would eat you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay. Anyway, we have talked a lot about Suicide Squad and James Gunn. So.